Have you ever looked around your home and thought, how can I make the most of this tiny, awkward corner? Today on the podcast, I am going to share with you some hacks to transform those cramped spots into a useful, beautiful area. From clever storage solutions to innovative layout ideas, I'm going to cover it all. So let's jump into this Simply Happy conversation to kickstart your journey to maximising every inch of your home. Thanks for joining me for today's solo episode where we're going to be navigating small and awkward spaces in your home that are really challenging. And so I'm going to be helping you to understand these issues and implementing some strategies that can make small spaces more livable and also more enjoyable and really maximize that storage with those smaller spaces. There's several issues that you'll find with small and awkward spaces. One of them is being limited mobility. It can be easy to feel cramped and bump into furniture or walls, and especially if an individual has mobility challenges, the tight spaces can be a real problem. Accessing also safety exits during, say, an emergency could also be a real challenge. So having clear pathways and turning circles big enough to move around, in particular if you are in a wheelchair, this is going to be a huge priority, even if we're in a small, awkward space. The second reason small and awkward spaces can be a problem is storage. This is usually when I've been asked to come and help clients because they have a really small space, which means less storage. They're trying to find ways to maximize the storage within the smaller space and how they can actually organize their belongings so it also doesn't feel cluttered. And so we need to make sure that things have designated spots. Another issue that comes up with small spaces is decorating. So working out the furniture that is going to fit in that particular space. Because if the furniture is too big, it's going to feel overwhelming. It's also not going to give you much room to move around. Another thing to be aware of is when there's an awkward layout, there can also be lighting issues. It means that there might be dark corners in the actual room. So thinking about how we can get the most light in as well. And another one is that it might not be able to serve multiple functions. So for example, it may not be able to have a dining and a working space in the same area. The last one would be feeling claustrophobic or like that suffocating because you're enclosed with too many things around you. And it can also then be really hard to relax. And it doesn't allow you maybe to pursue your interests and hobbies because you don't have enough room for the things that you want to store, but also then to work on those projects. Maybe it's even like a puzzle and you just don't even have the space to be able to do the puzzle and leave it out. So with all these issues in mind, there are probably 3 tips that are going to help you address them. So number 1 is storage ideas. Thinking about multifunctional furniture that serves more than one purpose. Like for example, a couch that also converts into a bed, or maybe an ottoman that has storage underneath it, or even just furniture like bedding that may have under bed storage, or it could be a couch with under storage, is just another way to increase those solutions for placing some of your items that you're not sure where else you could put them. Another thing would be thinking about containers or drawers that can fit under a bed or under a couch that will also increase storage options. And another thing is thinking about the wall space. So what shelves you could maybe place. Maybe there's some sort of wall hanging type of pegboard that you could actually implement. And it's just trying to maximize that vertical storage without taking up floor space. I've turned cube units vertically just to make the most of using up the wall rather than going lengthways. And another thing to think about is using behind a door. So it might be an over the door hanging type of arrangement. Or another one I have used with clients is that we've placed a shelf above the door on the inside. So you actually don't see it as you walk in. It's only when you turn around that you can see there's that extra storage. So that's really maximized the storage. as well as then walking into the bathroom and having a bench and having some baskets up there as well has helped to maximize really tiny, small bathrooms. Number 2 tip for addressing these issues is maybe looking at creative layout ideas. So maybe dividing your space for different activities. Thinking about like zoning an open area. So it might be work, relaxation. You could use like rugs, or you could use cube units, could be used as a divider. Another great one is using mirrors to create that illusion of more space. I know when we lived in a really small apartment in Melbourne before we had kids, we actually had lots of mirrors in the actual apartment, and it made it feel a lot bigger than it actually was. Number 3 tip for helping to address this is thinking about light and also color. So using natural light by placing furniture in front of a window, or even just using sheer curtains can also help bring more light into the room. Also, like arranging your lighting to brighten different parts of your spaces. So it might be small lamps in corners to brighten up that area. Another thing to think about is using light colors like a gray or a white on the walls or for furniture or cushions, because that reflects the light that's coming into the room. Also, trying to use different shades of the same color, like a green, and the different types of green will also help to create a space that's quite seamless. I'm going to share 3 small awkward space challenges that I come across all the time and that we have worked through, and share some of the suggestions that I use with clients. So number 1 is a small kitchen with limited counter space, and there isn't much storage, which just makes it a real problem when you're trying to cook. So some ideas that I have used with clients are implementing pull-out shelves or drawers in like existing cupboards that they already have. And this way it just maximizes the space and makes it easier also to access the items. You're not having to pull the front items out to get to the back items. Another suggestion is to use magnetic strips to hold knives or metal utensils, or even spices, which I've used on the inside of cupboard doors as well as on a wall. This not only saves space, it also keeps utensils and things that you need within reach maybe of your stove. Another idea is adding a folding table or a trolley or even a bench that's on wheels. So it could be tucked away when it's not in use. Another thing that it could hold could be things like your cookbooks or even appliances down the very bottom, or possibly even extra dishes. Another really great idea to increase storage is using a bench seat or stools that have storage inside them. I remember my grandmother actually had these bench seats, and inside hers was where she kept all her cake tins and really big platters. Now, depending on your tolerance of dust, is also installing shelves above your countertops so that you can store dishes, jars, maybe your cookbooks. And this can also keep them accessible, but it will definitely free up your surface area on your bench. Even having some tiered shelf on your bench, you're then able to use that vertical space. And then adding things like hooks or small shelves on the inside of a cupboard door is going to help you maybe store things like spices, utensils, or even your chopping boards. It's going to give them a home where you know where to find them and where to put them, and also and use up that space that maybe otherwise wouldn't be really used. The second challenge that I want to share with you is an apartment with no designated work zone. So it's a small apartment. It doesn't have a lounge and a work zone, but how can we make this actually work for us? So some suggestions is to create a workspace using maybe a corner desk or a small desk or even a wall-mounted fold-down desk. These are going to help you save space, but also give you a surface to work on. You could define the area using maybe a bookshelf as sort of a divider. Also having some storage containers or boxes that can be tucked away under the desk or in a cabinet, just to keep all of the things that you need together, but not always on display. Another one could be a trolley again, which you could then serve as both the storage, but also then it means that your workspace could possibly be able to move to a different area of your small apartment. The other thing is to think about using is shelves and wall-mounted organisers. I absolutely love those pegboards that you can get. These could be either mounted on the wall, but there's ones that you can actually get with feet, and so it can sit on the desk. Another idea is using small drawers that are on wheels that again could be moved around, but you could then have each drawer allocated for different items related to your stationery or what it is you're needing for work. So you could add vertical shelves, or it's like a slim desk mount that you place on the wall, or it can actually go onto the edge of your desk, and it provides you with a few extra shelves that you can then place the items on. And challenge number 3 is a shared kids' room without enough floor space for play. So some suggestions would be consider using a loft bed. So there's access under the bed for where the toys are, but the bed is raised and above, so it's giving you that extra space within the room. Another thing is if it was 2 kids in the same room, it could be bunk beds. This can free up the floor area below for play, or a small maybe activity table or some cushions. Then also gives you some storage containers, possibly under the bottom bunk or underneath the bed. Just with a client, they had a loft bed, but it has storage underneath it. It's like a little cubby house that you can create underneath, and we've placed all the soft toys underneath there, so they could be used as cushions, a place for them to be stored. Another great idea that you could use is like an ottoman, which could then be used as a seat, and then it's storage on the inside. Also benches that can hold toys, but also again is used as seating. I absolutely love a storage trolley that are on wheels, because this can be moved around, but it can also be used for so many different purposes. Could be used for toys, but in the future it may be used for craft, or it could be used for gardening. There's so many different things that it could be used for. Other ways to create playtime areas in a room, which I've done with clients before, is we've placed the bed in the middle of the room, and then we've placed colourful rugs on one side to create a play zone for Lego, and then we did a quiet zone on the other side, and we had a little bookcase there with some of their books. So also incorporating soft cushions, bean bags, or even a small tent is a great way of creating a zone within a bedroom. And it could be like a reading nook, or it could be imaginative play without it taking up too much space. Installing shelves onto the actual wall could be used for books, games, toys, but it could also be that you have storage containers on it, or even a pegboard, which could be fun for kids to be able to place the things back on the pegboard at the end of the day. Another thing that is one of my favorites is a toy rotation. So you could keep only a few toys out and rotate them regularly. This just makes the space feel less cluttered, but it also means that your kids have fresh toys and it's exciting to use. They're more motivated. They're not saying, we've got nothing to do, because the toys are rotating over regularly. Another one is having hanging nets or fabric bags from the ceiling or from the wall to hold stuffed toys, or even just lightweight toys. It's going to save your floor space, and it also looks quite playful and creative for kids to be able to put their toys away. I hope you found the tips for maximising small and awkward spaces useful, and it really made it a bit clearer by sharing those 3 challenges that I do come up against a lot. Remember, it's about creativity and just some simple storage, and you can turn any cramped corner into a functional and inviting area in your home. I'd love for you to share with me what small space hacks you've tried, and do you plan to try any of them after today's episode, maybe even the trolley. I'd love for you to jump onto social media and tag me and let me know what hacks you have for your small spaces. Thanks for listening to Simply Happy Conversations. Thank you for joining me for today's Simply Happy Conversation. Have you ever wished for a simpler, more organised approach to handling your laundry? It's time to regain control with our free step-by-step guide designed to streamline your laundry routine and create a laundry space that's organised and functional. Let's transform how you manage those overflowing baskets and pesky little single socks. Head to simplyhappy.com.au to the resources tab to get instant access today. I'd like to acknowledge the Wathaurong people of the Kulin Nation on which this podcast is recorded as the traditional custodians of the land. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging.